Adam, you ready to go?
Yep. All right. So here we are, week 12, NFL, Vegas horse pools, Circa Millions, no Circa Survivor. Let's jump right into it, Scott. What have we got this week? And I think there's a clear number one game, right?
Yeah, there's a clear number one game. Before we get started, I always try to invite one of my buddies onto the show with us as a guest. Today, we have an attorney. This is Joe Durham. Joe, how you doing today?
Scott, I'm great, man. It's good to be here with you. I appreciate the honor and the opportunity to be here with y'all and to offer whatever insight I might be able to offer here. Love it. I love the space and I follow all the regulatory and legal stuff. So being here to actually kind of talk about games for once, just being a lifelong fan is always something I enjoy doing. My family will tell you, they want to talk to me about things sometime, but I can talk about football anytime for as long as you want, So
I think we all have those families.
Yes,
absolutely. Doesn't matter if it's the Tuesday night MAC game or the Sunday night game or Monday night. We can find something to talk about.
But tell everybody why you're a really important person to know. Talk to them a little bit about the magic you can do in Georgia.
Well, I don't know about it being important to know, but I am very familiar with some, very surprising ways to help people that have been stiffed by bookmakers. There's some very specific laws in the state of Georgia and a bunch of other states. Since the last time, Scott, we were together and did a pod about that, I've learned a little more about some of the other states. I've spent some time doing that. And it's very deep into statutes, but it's very clear that a bookmaker that decides to stiff someone is in a really bad position for some potential liability. And people just they think, oh, I'm just, there's nothing I can do. I'm screwed out of this. And that's not the case. And there's a long list of people that I know and work with and that and that I've worked with. And some of them have talked about them on some of the big podcasts in the space. So I'm just thankful to have been able to help with that. And lately, one of the things I've been trying to do and would like to get off the ground more is finding a way to help with the disputes with people with the offshore books. And I don't mean your fly-by-night, the guy down the street opened up a paperhead, but I mean the real known books. There's got to be a better way, and there is a better way than what we have right now to resolve those issues between, customers and clients.
Okay, well, I didn't say it, but it sounds like America's Better Voice needs to talk to you. But with that,
well,
Joe, I guess I don't want to steal the secret there, but I really think America Better Voice needs to talk with you. But we probably better get started real quick here. Let me tell you the good news. The very good news: Nebraska's going bowling. More important than the Circa contest, more important than all of that, Nebraska, after 7 years, it's finally going bowling again. But we do have some games, and of course, we've got the best tout in America here. Adam's going to have a game for us, I'm sure. We've got a few games that we definitely want to talk about that were very highly hit on the Circa Millions this week. And of course, everybody knows the very first one we're going to talk about is none other than the Packers game. That game has really moved off the Circa line. Adam, give us the insight. What's the behind the counter prime numbers on this one?
Yeah, well, we actually had a very balanced book before this leaped off to where it was now. Actually, our worst result would be if this landed on 3, which would be an unusual thing for a game looking like it's going to close 5.5, 6, to say that our worst result would be the favorite by 3. But obviously the game was around 2 early in the week. We got some -2.5 action and some +3.5 action, and definitely the 3 is not wanted. But otherwise, it's turned into somewhat of a balanced book right now. But a lot of that balance has come at the -5.5 as well. So,
Gotcha.
It's been an interesting move. We caught it early. We didn't get any, bad bets sort of as the news come out, and it sort of pushed up. But yeah, right now this game, as long as it doesn't fall on 3, we're looking okay.
Joe, you have a pick on this game?
The 49ers to me have been one of the disappointments. I was expecting so much out of them, and I grew up a big Broncos fan, was always a Shanahan fan. So here I'm expecting them at some point to really right the ship to what I think. It was opened at 2, it shot up, and now it comes back. So, and even as we're sitting here looking at the Spank Odds screen, I have seen a little bit of movement. So if I had to go, I'm going to go with the not the Packers, the 49ers, just seeing them, hoping there as we get later in the season, they're going to right the ship, and just having some belief in some of that talent they've got.
That sounds really good to me. Adam, let's take you to the next popular game on Circa Millions this week for all of my customers, and that's not only the Eagles versus the Rams. Looks like there's not much movement there in the market compared to the Circa line. What are you seeing behind the counter at Prime?
Yeah, and this one is just 7.22% chose the Rams. The number's kind of there. We have a fairly well-balanced book on that one. We have a little bit at the -2.5 and at the 3, but, landing 3 is not a horror story right now because it hasn't been a very big bet game. One thing that I've noticed this week as we was going through the charts, the volume on NFL is really, really low this week compared to previous weeks at this time of the week. So I don't know if it's with all the college basketball and the college football getting to the stage it's getting, and people are just saving their ammunition for, all the sports on today and then will lean into it tomorrow, or whether there just hasn't been that much movement and that many plays tomorrow that they want to dive into. But volume is very, very low at this point going into Sunday.
Okay.
Adam, if you don't mind me asking a question, just as the average Joe, so to speak, looking at the schedule, there's not a lot of really what I call marquee games this week. That there's a lot of matchups that don't have the big fan bases behind them playing each other. Do you see that impact the volume you get, or early in the week versus late in the week? Is that something y'all see that impacts what y'all are looking at?
Yeah, and I think you also look at a game like Dallas-Washington that at the start of the season would have looked like, Dallas on the road would have been a lower number. They've just been played out of the season. Some of those matchups that might have brought some interest, just doesn't have it right now. I think this time of year always gets into a bit of a lull. Everyone gets fired up. NFL, first 8 to 10 weeks are really pumped up, and then there's a lot of sports on right now. It's the season of NBA, NHL, college basketball, college football, NFL. There's only so much balance that some players have to go around, and they really concentrate on what's being played today. Then tomorrow they'll look at what's being played tomorrow and going along like that. Even with the clientele that we have, which is professional bettors for the most part, again, it's just that kind of week that it hasn't drawn the volume that we've seen, for the first 11 weeks of the season come Saturday night when we're doing this.
Gotcha. Well, I'll throw another game out at you here. Let's go up to the very top. This is my buddy Spooky's favorite team, the Detroit Lions. This is one of the heaviest picked contests in Circa Millions. What are you seeing behind the boards there at Prime?
So this was one game. Now, we've got bets from, and I've said this before, we classify our players generally as professionals or wise guys versus rec street kind of players. Out of all the games for this weekend, this is the one game with the one side that not a single pro has spent a single penny on. We don't have a single penny on Detroit Lions from what we've classified as a sharp player. We have a bit on the Colts. Overall, 66% of the money is on Detroit, between sort of 7.5. But it's, untouched from the wise guy side on that one.
Gotcha. Okay. Joe, I'll let you pick a game. Is there a game you want to talk about?
Oh, sure. The Buccaneers and the Giants. I think anybody that's a football fan has to the Giants being a blue blood franchise, and then the Buccaneers being more in modern years, having, risen out of the depth, so to speak, to be a lot more relevant. But you've got the Giants. Everybody was expecting, maybe a little more coach on the hot seat and a quarterback that has been, mediocre. They decided to give him the big extension, and now they decide, well, he can't cut it at quarterback, so they're going to put him at scout team safety for a day. And then obviously they cut him. And then to add something else onto it, they don't go to their backup quarterback to start. They go to the third string quarterback, DeVito. I think it's Tommy DeVito is his name, and he's going to start. So it's just a lot of strange stuff going on there, which leads me to think that everybody would jump on the Buccaneers. But the line really, looking across the Spank odds board, hadn't moved a whole lot. So, as an average Joe off the street, if I were laying my money down, I'd think, the Bucs are a lock. So that makes me think, by God, the Giants are the lock of the year this year, right? With everything that's going on. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, I'd actually highlighted this game because, again, on the Vegas Horse Pools proxy, this was the one game where not a single person picked the Giants. Like, generally, every other game has somebody picking at least, each side. This was the one that just had the 0.00, which is also a rarity in the proxy, but not a single soul. So it seems like the millions players are siding with you there, Joe, and thinking there's only one side to play in this game.
That's right. When it looks like you should be on the other side, go with the side they go with that, not that side. It's
so
like it's too good to be true.
Yeah, this would normally stand out like that. And if there was a little bit more volume on the game and a little bit more leaning, because as I said, it's 75% of the money is on Tampa Bay. Just the volume and liquidity is not there. This could have been the game that we laid into, but just not quite there that jumped out.
Well, Adam, you still haven't given us game of the week, so I'm going to turn this over to you and let you pick the next game.
So, as I've said, I think once before during this process, Scott, we don't have any standout this week. I was almost – the Giants could have almost got there. Dallas is another one, but the volume and the liquidity right now just isn't there to identify, what we're really going to need going in tomorrow. As I sort of mentioned, the other game that we're looking at was Washington. They were 10 on the Circa, went to 10.5. 80% of the money's there, but there's just no interest. This was one game I previewed with the Bostonian and the book on Thursday. And I think I remember having more action in my, high school lunch money games than what we've written on this game here. So it's, it's just an interesting week that there's just not that much volume rolling around at this point.
I wonder if that's because Nebraska was playing to be bowl eligible this week and everybody had to watch that game. Maybe it's all going to come in tonight then is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, tonight or in the morning. It's just, again, I think there's just so much going on. We kind of, this is a pattern for, decades. That week 12 to 14, 15 feels like it sort of lulls down a bit. Obviously, this week we've got Thanksgiving, and when you have those standalone games coming up next week, again, people might be just taking it easy to get ready for Thursday and launch into 4 NFL days in 5. I think there's games played. And when you get those single games, the volume's just enormous. The live betting's enormous. So, it's just that kind of week, I think.
There is something I wanted to ask you. In Nebraska tonight, Nebraska is taking on Wisconsin in volleyball. Is there any restrictions on Prime booking volleyball?
I think there is definitely in Ohio. I'm not sure New Jersey. The only sport that in the college, and it kind of surprised me, was they allow wrestling, which not a sport that I'm looking to book, but if I get the information or someone to make the odds, I'll put them up. But there's not a lot of college sports outside of the main football, basketball that are allowed to be put up, and not something that I've dove into because, again, there's a lot of things that I'm sort of in the regulated space being a little bit more shy of. And college sports is one of those things with college props and low liquidity stuff like that.
Yeah, I was just wondering because Nebraska's ranked number 2 in volleyball, and they have filled out the Nebraska football stadium before to watch a volleyball game. So I was just curious on your point on that. But I guess it looks like there is not a play of the week this week, which is okay. If there's not one there, we're not going to force anything. Your record will stay perfect. You've never had a loser on the show, so that's always good.
Knock the wood.
Joe, can you tell everybody how to reach out to you if they're having a problem? They're dealing with a bookie who decided he didn't want to pay, or if you're a bookie and you've got a client that doesn't think they want to pay. Can you tell them how to reach out to you to get hold of you?
Fishin handle @Fishin, that is not fishing, but FISHIN lawyer. I try to answer my direct messages as quickly as I can. Obviously, my website, Joe Durham, DURHAM, PC.com, is where you can get me. This is not the main part of my legal practice at all, but I do try to respond. And depending on, if I'm got a trial going on or something, it varies, but I always try to get back with people. And then, and certainly reaching out on Twitter is a great way. I usually set up a phone call or a Zoom call and want to get some data and go from there. So I appreciate you doing that. I always like to help people and like being in the space and trying to solve problems.
Yeah. Like I say, you're a very valuable guy to know. Adam, how do people reach out to you?
Again, on Twitter is @AdamBjorn2. And again, it's not hard to find me through Prime, or we've got BetCruise in Latin America, Planetech, and then hopefully coming to a state near you soon, Scott.
Yeah, I'm applying for a job, and I think I did a pretty good application. I'm going to submit the video application of my rundown on that fight, the Jake Paul fight. I think that's going to be my my video application, as I do look forward to working again in the industry for the right guy. So hopefully we can get something put together there.
Well, I'm glad to see I don't remember the exact number, but it's grown a lot in the last several years, and my state, Georgia, is getting really close. So I'm certainly hoping to see that, spread more, and there be more and more legalization and the proper regulation that benefits everybody too.
Definitely.
That's the key to it all. That's it. Some people have gotten it wrong. We just need to get it right and just, tackle it correctly.
And I think that's about it for us this week. I think we can wrap it up. Of course, guys, my name is Scott. You can reach out to me on Twitter. I'm at Vegas Horse Pools. If you have any Spank Odds issues or questions, you can reach me at Spank Odds. But that'll be it for this week. We don't have any tout play of the week, so that'll be the end for this show. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining in. Everybody have a good night, and go Red.
Go Dogs.